Morning everyone. We are down to our last 150 acres and we've still got some corn in the bin cooking over there. Maybe you can hear the fans behind me. So we've got 40 acres that has to go to town. The rest will have to be put in that dryer bin once we get it dry and emptied out. So all we can do today is 40 acres. Not sure if we'll be able to get it done. The elevator's been getting full and shutting down early. So we're gonna do the best we can. Hopefully we can knock that out. And then all we'll have left is 112 across the ditch that has to go in the bin. So it's coming down on the wire. This morning I've got to grease these bottom sprockets on the corn head. It's been a couple days since I've done that. Grease this reel. I think we're out of the down corn. The last video we just had that 60 acres across the road that was down really bad, and those rows were planted north and south, and the wind came in from the west and just plowed right through there and knocked everything down. Everything else we've got planted is planted from the east, and the field across the ditch has a really nice tree line for a windbreak. So I don't think we'll need the reel anymore, but it's not hurting anything, and we don't want to take it off here because we don't store it here anyway. So it's just going to stay on for the rest of the season. I need to raise the head up so I can get to those sprockets a little easier. I'll check the oil and get this thing ready to go. Oil's good. It's pretty chilly this morning, 29 degrees. This thing usually starts pretty good, but let's see if we can get a decent cold start. That was a pretty lame cold start. 29 degrees and this thing fires right up. Alright, change of plans. I know, right? That never happens. Dad, I guess, took a sample out of the bin last night and it was 15.6, so he let it cool off overnight with just the fans, and we're going to start transferring. We've got a 7,000 bushel bin that we're going to fill, and then we're going to haul the rest out. Probably won't do that today, but there should be like, I don't know, 12, 13,000 in that bin. I didn't really figure it out, but we're going to fill that 7,000 bushel, haul the rest to town, and then we can fill that back up. So I'm going to shut the combine off real quick because it doesn't need to sit here racking up hours. Then we're going to get things moved around to transfer corn. Years ago, before we had this big drying bin sitting here, there used to be a batch dryer with a wet bin, and I think it could dry like, I don't know, 1,500 bushels in a batch or something. I don't know. It was really small. I'll have to ask Dad or Grandpa, but it was set up right here where this drying bin is. And then we had an auger that the wheels would pivot on, and it would go to each one of those 3 bins, and you could, like I said, pivot the wheels and it would just slide over. So we'd fill all of them, and that was pretty cool for back in the day. Probably a pretty good setup for, you know, the 70s or 80s or whenever it was put in. Now it's getting to the point where these bins aren't in very good shape. These are old Balin bins, and these two, the sheets go all the way up. So this center one actually split open a few years ago, so we can't use it anymore. And that one got damaged in the derecho. The back side of it's dented in, plus the bottom's starting to crush, so we hadn't been using that bin anyway. This one has alternating sheets like a regular bin, so it's still in pretty good shape, so we still use this one. We have plans to someday tear all 3 of these down and build a nice shop right here, and then put up another bin like that, maybe a little bit bigger, just to the south of it. And that would really help our operation a lot. So it really didn't hurt our feelings that this one got damaged in the derecho, because it's pretty much useless anyway. So the only way to unload this drying bin is with this upright unload auger. So what we do is we park a wagon underneath it, set the auger up underneath the wagon, and shoot it up to that bin. Now if we were to build another bin over here in the future, they make an auger that attaches to that upright, and you can just shoot it right to the next bin. So we can dry a batch, transfer it, and you don't really have to do anything, just push buttons. So this is the corn we put in that wagon the other day. Instead of taking the wagon all the way to town, we're just augering it into the truck. It's a lot easier that way while we got this auger down, because the tires on that wagon are not very good, and we don't want to risk taking it to town and blowing a tire. So this is easier. We got that fiasco set up. Let's go pick some corn. Dad's dumping that truck that we had loaded from yesterday. I got the combine pretty much full. I'm still opening things up at the other end of the field, so I'm gonna grab the grain cart, empty out, get this thing opened up. Don't have a grain cart operator today, but it's not too bad. It's short rows. I can make a round and dump. Not a big deal. I'm really hoping to knock this 40 out today. Then we'll be down to the last farm. In case you're new to the channel or you didn't really follow along this spring, we had a lot of replants. We got started about a week earlier than we normally did. We started planting on April 23rd, and we were pretty excited about that because normally the earlier you can plant, the better the yield. So, you know, we were pretty excited. April 23rd is about as early as we've ever planted, but we ended up trying to get through this here without plowing the corn down. We ended up getting a 5-inch rain in the middle of May, so the corn was just barely up, and it flooded a bunch of it out. So this was the last field that we replanted. The whole middle part of it got flooded out. So there was a little bit around the edges that didn't, and that corn looked good, so we decided not to tear it up. We just filled in the middle. That's kind of why I had to go through that curve there just a little bit ago. I curved around to fill in a gap where there wasn't some corn planted, so that's making it kind of difficult to get this field opened up. We have some extra end rows and some goofy planted areas where we were just trying to fill in holes. So you can't exactly remember how you planted it way back in June or whenever this was. But yeah, so far all the corn that did not get flooded out has been really good. It's been in the 200s, and all the replants are way behind that. So if we wouldn't have got that big rain, we'd have had a really good crop getting it planted that early. But that's just kind of the risk you take. You don't know what Mother Nature's going to hand you. And this year she handed us a 5-inch rain in the middle of May, and it was not ideal at all. But that's farming. You just got to go with the flow. So we ended up replanting about 45% of our corn. We patched in most of it because the corn that survived was looking good, and we hated to tear it up because we knew that was going to be pretty decent yielding corn. But yeah, we decided to patch in. We did tear up some. It doesn't really seem to be yielding any better than what we just patched in, so I don't know. I still feel like we did the right thing by leaving what we had. It's kind of a pain to get things opened up, but it is what it is. I'm not really sure what happened, but I got a snoot hanging down here. Oh, interesting. I didn't think I hit anything. This thing that holds it up is twisted. Looks like I lost a bolt. I'm gonna have to run back up to the house and find something to shove in there. You know what? I might have a bolt in my toolbox. I'll sit in here where it's warm and go through this. This is just a box of random goodies in case we break something, chain links and stuff like that. Sometimes you can find something. Here's a bolt. I thought maybe I'd have a carriage bolt from the bean head in here, but it's not looking too promising. Dad found a bolt in the tractor toolbox. It wasn't quite right, but I think it'll work to get us through. So we are back in business. So that toolbox I got on the combine, I was wanting a dust-proof toolbox. We had an old toolbox off of our 9600 in the cab, and tools were scattered all over the place. And I really wanted one of those step toolboxes that goes on the side, but I just couldn't see spending $400 or whatever they are on that. So I found this Q-Brick toolbox from Lowe's. It's only $49. Pretty nice toolbox. It really does keep the water and the dust out. If I remember, I'll post a link to it if anybody needs something like that. It's right there, that toolbox. Right now I just have it sitting on the step. I need to figure out a better place to put it. We are just flying across this 40. We've only got about 10 acres left already. Feels like I just started. I kind of thought it would take a little bit longer than that, but Dad's keeping up with the truck just fine, and I haven't really had to stop. So we should get this done easy. It's only noon, so yeah, we'll be done here pretty quick. up, and then I don't know what we're gonna do. We might go start opening up the next farm, because I don't think all of it's gonna fit the dryer bin, so we might just open things up and take some to town while we've got time. Or maybe we'll just call it a day and start on tillage or something. I guess I'll wait till Dad gets back and see what he's thinking. The point rows have been interesting this year because we got that new corn planter and it has row shutoffs, or section control, whatever you want to call it. It'll shut off 2x2 rows, and before you would have just a half-width shutoff, so you have 8 rows overlapping every time you have point rows, and now it just shuts off rows 2 at a time. And we haven't had as much, when you overlap the 8 over 8 like that, it's planted way too thick, and then the corn usually goes down and it's hard to pick. Well, this has been kind of nice because it doesn't really do that. By shutting off 2x2 rows, you're not really wasting as much seed, and it worked out really nice. It is kind of different to get used to. Normally you see your 8 rows and you kind of know where you're at, but now it's a little bit harder to figure out what exactly is going on in the point rows. I don't know how to explain it, but anyways, we're done with this field. Let's see what we got going on next. I'm just dumping the last load here in town. Dad is back home. We got that corn transferred. He was taking the auger down and he's gonna put a bale of hay out for the cows. I still don't know what we're gonna do now. I guess I'll get this dumped, head back, and see what we got going on. Like I said earlier, that bin only holds 7,000 bushels. The dryer bin had, I didn't actually figure, 12, 13,000. So there's a little bit left. We're gonna truck that to town, get this thing emptied out, and then we can start filling it up again. So we're just loading out dry corn the rest of the day. We decided not to really start on anything else. It's Halloween and we're all kind of tired and need a break. So we're just loading the trucks up for tomorrow, and yeah, that's about it. It's supposed to be really nice next week, so we should be able to knock out that last 110 acres or whatever it is. And yeah, we'll be done with harvest. Still got a lot going on. We want to get some tillage done. We're thinking about doing some fall anhydrous because the price is reasonable, and yeah, still a lot to do. So if you like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and see you on the next one.